Hello. Hi, people. It's Maya. I'm back. Okay, I am back. This time, what is going on here? This is going to be a series on the Vibration Translation podcast called the Mystical Translation Series. So, MTS. It's going to be labeled on the podcast channels, the podcasting platforms as MTS. This is number 1, episode 1, MTS. Essentially what this is you can see there's no other person here with me. This is a podcast with me and myself and I and the universe, we being here together. And so this is going to be much like the YouTube videos I had going on earlier, however, in a podcasting format. So there's going to be a little bit more of a formality to the organization of these episodes due to the podcasting format, but then again, it's going to be crafted and created however it wants to be crafted and created. I'm going to let this creation unfold how it will. Don't know how long this is going to be, this series, but it's going to be around all the same topics I discuss on my podcast. So that's spirituality, mysticism, spiritual insight, as well as practical integration, my personal experiences and my reflections from playing around with the psyche and gnosis I have gained so far on this journey and everything that I don't know. And so anyway, that will unfold by itself however it needs to. Today I want to talk about spiritual awakening, my story, as well as authenticity. And so how these episodes are going to work is that this is going to be the centralized topic, or at least it's going to be the inspirational pop-off, drop-off point for where we're going to go. So if you're watching this on YouTube, down links below to multiple streaming platforms for podcasts so you can get this on the go. And let's get right into it, shall we? I'm super excited to be back here on Vibration Translation. Let's just say that firstly. And I invite you to take a deep breath right now, wherever you are. Allowing yourself to feel that space in between your breaths. Awesome. Thanks for taking that breath with me. All right, my spiritual awakening. Let's cover this however it shall be covered. I paired this with the topic of authenticity for a very big reason at that, because my definition of spiritual awakening is, at the current present time, is an awakening back into yourself, into your true authenticity, and then, now we have popular sayings or phrases such as, you are spirit inside your body. And spiritual awakening is not just the knowledge of these now popular, more trendy terms as of the last couple of years. It is the experiential, visceral, entire reality, cumulatively speaking, at once, within one moment, within each and every moment. A new lens, a new perspective that is integrating into oneself throughout space and time. A perspective that overlays, underlays, weaves in throughout your entire experience of your reality. And so, by all those little abstract terms I used, spiritual awakening is the awakening to the true reality behind the illusion of everything that we have been born into and the baggage we have somehow been convinced into carrying. Trauma, generationally, all those things speaking, societal programming, right? Because we're born into a certain way of being already. I mean, before we were born, there already has been a society. There already has been certain rules set. There's been ways of being and patterns and how a life should go, what somebody should be, what kind of school somebody should be going to, what somebody should be doing by the age of 20, 30, 40, what kind of a life plan, a life path already set out before us, before we were even born onto this planet Earth. Which planet Earth is programmed throughout all these systems and all these societies, where we are in essence told what to do and what to believe and what's the correct thing in order to conform with said society, so that we can foster a sense of belonging, which is biologically and in quite an important sense that people want to feel. If you hear a popping sound here and there, that's my TMJ. Okay. And so many definitions to spiritual awakening, but another one I'll say, another definition I'll say is the awakening to your soul's true knowing, true intuition, the connecting to your higher mind, your higher self, universe, spirit guides, whatever you want to call it, God, yeah. It's the awakening to your soul's true essence, which is within that connection to your higher self, your soul, your oversoul, that connection. Your higher mind, where all ideas are born and originate from, which are translated to you, and you are the bridge for all of this higher consciousness, higher ideas to come through into this earth and materialize. And so awakening is realization that you are the bridge between these two worlds. And you are the one that is able to materialize onto this earthly planet Earth realm that you have incarnated into by utilizing this inherent, natural intuition and natural guidance that you have that is not ruled by the outside illusionary world of programs, projections, illusions, and systems already set in place before you came. Spiritual awakening is the realization that when you were a baby, this is all from my perspective, the spiritual awakening thing. This is all from my perspective, but at the same time, you will feel out to you what feels like truth, because truth is not something you can fake. Truth can be said in many different ways, but ultimately it is the energy, the vibration of truth. And I believe there are some things that are inherently true. I keep an open mind, but there's a feeling, there's a vibration to words of truth and words of connectedness to the universal all. And my job right now is to become a clearest vessel I can for that information to come through. Now, it's possible that here and there I say things that are out of alignment, and it's possible of anybody else on the internet, and that's why it is not your job to listen to anybody on the internet. It's your job to listen to yourself and be able to discern the information, the quality of that information, and the vibration of truth. And listen to your intuition based on what you need to pick up, what kind of symbols, because for everybody's intuitions, for everybody's personhood, there's different symbols, different ways in which the universe communicates with you, and symbols that make sense to you. A dog can be universally a symbol of loyalty, but to you it might be a symbol of anger because you were bitten by some angry dog, and now you associate anger with it. So you see how symbols are different for people. That's why it is important to have a connection with yourself and the universe for your own self. While it really helps listening to other people like myself, if it helps you, it helps me to listen to other people and have confirmation and readings from other people done. If they are in resonance and alignment with me and my higher self. As reminders, as confirmations, but not as something to rely on. So I just wanted to say that. This is going to be a flow, so hopefully it's going to evolve. This episode is going to evolve. My intention is for it to evolve in a way that is understandable for you. So, spiritual awakening is about realizing that we have all come here not as blank slates, as something that's never existed before, as something that is, has zero information with it, that has zero codes with it, that has zero knowledge with it, that has zero wisdom of any kind, that has zero experience of any kind. No, spiritual awakening is realizing that your authenticity comes from your inherent nature, and your inherent nature that is literally ancient. That you are an ancient soul, you are timeless, you do not die. You are energy and you continue throughout time. And so, the outside world has this impression of children, that children are just some blank slates, and yeah, they have different personalities, just like cats or dogs do, or in different forms, but that's just all random and evolutionary, and nothing from the beyond, nothing from anywhere else where it could actually have serious wisdom or seriously anything to give to the world without being shaped and formed by the systems of our societies. My perception of the world when I was little, and what shaped the way I navigated throughout the world, is that I am not allowed to be myself, because the world is trying to shape me and mold me to be a certain way that is acceptable and approved of, and seen as high and mighty, and seen as successful, and you can try to be successful, or like the way that's going to guarantee your success, or the way that other people will perceive you in a way that's going to be honorable, in a way that's going to be successful. Everybody wants to be perceived as successful, right? We're sold this like image of an idolized position that we can hold, a position that holds with it a perception of the outside world, of other people, of the masses, of yourself as somebody that is successful. We are sold on this idea that we can be a certain way, that all others or most others are going to perceive us as successful and approve of our being if we follow the systems. And when I was little, I really struggled, because I knew I have inherently, just like everybody, knowledge, wisdom, my own, I have my own sense of, understanding, that I don't need to be taught, that I have something to teach people, and I don't have to get it from an outside source. It is from within me, because I am inherently a puzzle piece of the universe, just like you. And in order to fulfill the prophecy of you being that true puzzle piece of the universe, is to fully come into your authenticity. I believe this is something along the lines of what Bashar says. I've been saturating my mind with Bashar and Abraham Hicks for the past year or so. Maybe not so long with Bashar, but definitely Abraham. So I'm familiar with their teachings because they really resonate with me. And so that authenticity, that inner teaching, that inner wisdom that you have to bring, the realization of this and the materialization of this into physical form, that's spiritual awakening. That's the understanding of this, and that's the bringing of it, and that's the applying of it. Now, I'm not saying here that we are all knowing beings that come and incarnate into this world, that we have things to learn, we have lessons to learn, we have things we're curious about, and we want to learn more about. It's like I'm not saying this is some egocentric thing. I'm saying this is like something that the world has ignored. I mean, like growing up, my parents didn't look at me as somebody that had anything. From my perception, my parents did not look at me as somebody that had, something to teach them, or had inherent wisdom or anything like this. I believe I was looked at from my teachers, from, parents, as somebody that needed to be molded and formed in a certain way. And that's just not the truth. It's not the truth. And perhaps I just didn't have the teachers that wanted to look at my particular strengths, or the experiences of being mentored in a certain way that really had me be seen in a certain light, or recognize that within me. Maybe some people out there have that experience, but I don't think it's many. A spiritual truth I have found is that you do not need to be in any type of way, do not need to try to be anything other than what you are. In fact, that trying to be anything of you are, well, that is not authentic, first of all, and that's not going to set you off in the course of, fulfilling your destiny, your purpose, who you are. And your destiny and your purpose are your dreams, are your visions, are the things that really light you up. That because it already existed in your imagination, it already is. It already is who you are. Another thing is the power and potency and importance of imagination over anything. Even Einstein had the quote, which I had it up in my room here for a while, but I just took it down, is something along the lines of a sign of intelligence is not... The greatest sign of intelligence is imagination, rather than IQ, which IQ is just another modality of trying to compare people up against each other, in my opinion, my humble little opinion here. So in my spiritual new understanding of the world is that which really was an old understanding that I just didn't allow myself to feel into, is that we all come in here with our unique gifts. We are not blank slates. Okay, I'm going to nail this down hard enough within this podcast because I can't. We are not blank slates of just like that need to be molded and shaped. We have an inherent true inner nature that is so in alignment and representative of our soul's infinitely large wisdom. And each of us have beautiful strengths, different strengths. And we are here to help each other within that full realization of what those strengths are for us. Now, have I uncovered all my strengths? Not quite, and that's all right. Another thing I want to say is just a comment about astrology. It's another thing that's getting real popular. My little sister just brought a book for made for kids about astrology, which is really funny. It's very much, mainstream astrology is focused on what's your sun sign? Okay, your sun sign is going to give you shit about who you are. It might point to some things, but in terms of if you actually want to learn about yourself, look at your entire chart, get somebody that knows how to read your chart. I just had a reading with a lady. She's like a tarot oracle reader on YouTube, but she also reads charts really, really well. I'll link her channel. I think it's Twin Tarot Moon or something like this. It'll be linked down below. If you're interested, email her, ask her for a reading about your chart. If you get somebody that really understands the chart to read your reading, it will feel as if your higher self wrote down the whole thing and had them read it out loud. It is something that is so incredibly resonant with me to have, not even the whole chart looked at, but considering the houses, the planets, the star signs within those, and the different asteroids and everything, cumulatively really forms a much greater in-depth picture that is a lot more unique to you than, just a sun sign, which so many people have on Earth, the same sun sign as you. Tell me that's going to define you. You know what I mean? It's not going to. Come on, people. Why I mention this is because I found out, now I might be getting this off, but I think my Chiron, which is some kind of marker within astrology that represents something that you're like the wounded healer in, that you're really able to help other people at, however you struggle yourself. Like this is one of your deepest wounds. So my Chiron, I believe it's in second house and Saturn. I believe it's at least in Saturn. And so what it represents within my chart, how it was read for me, is that it represents self-esteem. And it totally made sense. Like I've been so passionate about teaching people, about, inspiring people and empowering people to raise their self-esteem, to get into their power, to understand their power, to create, on this earth, to really embody and materialize their dreams. So I'm really passionate about that. But at the same time, self-esteem is the most gigantic wound within my being. I've felt oftentimes that if I have some kind of idea, some kind of thought, some kind of anything, and if it is not confirmed to me or approved of or signaled that it is approved of by the outside world, I get this feeling of extreme insecurity about it. This feeling of like I don't have my own strong identity to really stand by in. Because another thing is I have this fear of being seen as crazy. Like that's the biggest fear that I have. Because it feels scary to stand within certain ideas and yeah, stand behind certain ideas that are not mainstream, that are really feel risky because they're new. They're, on the edge of how people are thinking right now, and the ways that people express themselves. And I mean, come on, like, we all express ourselves inherently in very naturally unique ways. And so it feels edgy, it feels risky to, step really fully into that personal expression and that personal way of thought and really own the ideas that one has without feeling insecure. For me, that is my experience. And, with the Chiron placement that I have, I mean, it totally made sense for me. And I understand that most people on earth, I would say, have a problem with self-esteem or self-worth or the inner critic. And my experiences with these have been intensely challenging, to the point where I see it everywhere in my life. And in terms of any ideas that I have, it takes a lot for me to build up confidence and not feel like I need a million shards of approval from the outside world. When I was young and for a long time, and even now a little bit, yeah, I felt like I am not allowed. The way that I inherently am is not allowed. And while some things come from, childhood trauma, the big pop word now, I believe a lot of this kind of trauma stuff, it not only comes from the stars, which I believe we chose to be born on this planet exactly as we are, but also from our past lives, from generational traumas from this earth, from our own lines right now, from our cosmic line. I believe all of this has to do with where we are right now on this planet. And this to say, I would consider astrology and even numerology, like, before forming some hasty mainstream opinion based off of the mainstream, dive deep, get yourself a real reading, not just on your star sign, on your sun sign, And in terms of life path numbers and numerology, I'm a life path 3, and this is incredibly resonant as well. 3s are explorative, expressive in creativity, and drawn to performing of some sorts. And the exploration part is hitting hard, the multitasking, the wanting to do and try everything. And this has frustrated me intensely because it feels like I'm not staying consistent with one thing. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to be consistent with one thing and stick to one thing, but that's not really the case. That's not really the case for anybody, but it makes sense to my natural nature as I've reflected upon it based on the readings that I've got recently. So, spiritual awakening. Yeah, I'm centralizing this around the spiritual awakening, as I have said. So, and when I would say that it was a really kind of major point of illumination for me in terms of everything spiritual was when I was 12, kind of about the time I was turning 13 years old. I remember getting comments from people, "Oh my gosh, you're so happy." I remember liking crystals before that age, but I remember just getting comments from people like, "Oh my gosh, you're so happy," but I didn't really feel happy. And so then that prompted me to look up on YouTube how to feel happy. And then I find, lo and behold, Infinite Waters Diving Deep. Some of y'all may know him. He's really popular now. He only had a couple thousand subscribers when I found him at that age. And that is how I got into lucid dreaming, astral projection, all these topics of the other realm. Crystals, Reiki, yoga, you name it. Like, I started doing yoga when I was 13. Like, all of this world opened up, and all those nights spent looking up at the stars, wondering, who am I, completely added up towards this being the next step, revealing itself to me of who am I. And I remember many nights around that age of 12, 13, just looking up at the stars, sitting up at my desk and looking out my window, looking up at the stars, just wondering the questions, primordial questions, existential questions. Who am I? What is this planet? Why am I here? What's the purpose? And I also remember thinking, we have this natural curiosity when we are young. And even Albert Einstein is probably reminiscent of saying some of this kind of stuff. Is like, and I used to be super into Albert Einstein and like Nikola Tesla and people like that, so that's why I'm saying this. Children have such natural curiosity. There's even been a study done where the genius levels, to try to find geniuses, and literally like almost every like young child had genius level imagination and creativity, and then that stuff gets dumbed down, right? And so I just remember thinking at 12 years old, like, I have all this wonder and everything like that, and perhaps this is the age or around the age where other people have this wonder as well. I didn't know, but I just thought, like, perhaps this is the age where people start thinking about, who they are, and really like considering this like coming of age type of thing, like, oh, females get their periods around this time, la di da di da. I remember thinking, like, I'm gonna forget this in a way, maybe, or at least other people are gonna forget this, from the world that I see, that people are not thinking of the wonder, seeing and feeling really the wonder of this existence, instead caught up in certain jobs and ways of being, solidified, cemented in certain ways, where we forget to ask, who am I? And realize that the answer is, I am. I am, being I am all of that I know myself to be. Being that my awareness, my soul, has traveled for many lifetimes, and it is so wise, and so is yours. And I remember thinking at 12, 13 years old, I also got into personal development stuff. Those motivational videos online, well, I devoured all those, and I became incredibly disciplined, and on and off. I would be incredibly disciplined with myself in meditation and like exercise, and then I would slack off and like completely indulge myself in video games, and then struggle with those addictions, and then go right back and go back and forth, and really be so hard on myself throughout that entire time. So now I kind of have like a not great relationship with discipline, which I am healing. Finally proud of myself. I'm finally feeling self-compassion for myself. The things that really, it's really had me understand that love, rather than forced discipline, rather than forcing myself to be a certain way, rather than, beating myself up into certain practices. It made me realize that love and self-compassion towards all of the parts, and I repeat, all of the parts, not a single part missing out of this, of myself that come up, are to be loved and acknowledged, because they are screaming out like children, right? I just saw the metaphor. Anyway, he compared, gosh, I should probably know this. Bear with me, please. At the moment, I am not great with names. Perhaps this is just a story I'm telling myself, but yeah, right now it's not coming to me. Anyway, he said that he compared emotions to children, and he said how we have favorites, we play favorites, we love happiness, but then again, sadness, we don't want to embrace sadness, we don't want to hug pain, but that is exactly what pain and sadness need. I mean, just think of it. I remember when I'm feeling in a lot of pain, I'm gonna advance that pain, advance the expression of that pain in whatever way I can, in order for it to be seen, noticed, and acknowledged. Like a cry out for help, a cry out for a hug, a cry out to be met where it is, to be with it. Because the greatest healing I've gotten from, facilitators I've sat with, is where they were able to just be with all of me in that moment, and all the trigger I was feeling, and all the emotion I was feeling. And they were able to just be with that. And that helped me understand how to be with myself in that way, and gain more awareness in that way, and just be with myself within that loving awareness, and cultivating that loving awareness. Healing is really about that, cultivating loving awareness for all parts of yourself, and then extending that to all parts of life experience, and other people's experience, and however that demonstrates itself, however their pain demonstrates themselves in behaviors. And I'm going to take this to a real quick turn. Suicide. I've only experienced suicidal ideation like one time before, like for a period of time. But why I believe from this current point suicide happens is when people feel like they need to dampen or not show their pain for the sake of other people, or because they believe nobody's going to care, or just they believe they need to dampen their emotions and be numb to them and not feel them and not show them because it's inappropriate in some kind of way. It's going to cause harm to other people. So they keep it in to the point where the cry of help just becomes the display of how much they were in pain, which would be a suicide. That's my opinion about it. That's my current and personal definition of what I believe suicide comes from. If it doesn't make any sense or resonate, take it with a grain of salt. Or if you have your own personal experience, knowing somebody or having suicidal ideation by yourself, please do let me know down in the comments. I think it can help a lot of people. Spiritual awakening. This is a big topic. It covers absolutely everything, doesn't it? And anyway, when I was 13, I got introduced to everything, you know? When I was 17, I took a yoga teacher training. Then I took like Reiki classes, then sound healing, then this and that. And I tried out so many different things, and then the mushrooms, and then the ayahuasca, and then I really submerged myself into that. And now I'm here. At this point in my journey, it's just another point to be at. The name of this podcast at large is called Vibration Translation. And that name came from an ayahuasca journey where I heard the words vibration translation. I believe that was my last ayahuasca journey I had, which was about 7.5 months ago, which was the most intense thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. And that's why I stopped taking psychedelics for over 7 months, and will continue to take a break from them unless I get some kind of really strong calling, because I know for myself it is time to really just bring down and integrate onto planet Earth. Is the realization that we are, as human vessels, the bridges for higher consciousness, for love. I wrote a Substack about this. It's called The Feeling Process of Letting Love In. We are the bridge for love consciousness, for unity consciousness, for higher consciousness, right? Which is based in love ultimately, to come down into and materialize into planet Earth and help lift us all up. It's through our vessel, through our own reception of love and direction of love towards our own self, first and foremost, to be in love, to live in the love, to then spread the love through our own vibration and through the ways in which we act, through the ways in which we give, through the ways in which we are of service, through the ways in which we play, for the joy that we can bring, for the positive perspective we can bring into different situations. Because many on this earth are depressed and anxious and taking medication for it, which no shame about taking medication for it, but it's just the statistics are growing. And pills have been, majority solution. And I want to mention a note about psychedelics. I'm sure I'll get into this and into some experiences with them possibly in further podcast episodes. But the role that they played in my spiritual awakening is they opened me up to these different states of consciousness. They had me feel the oneness. They had me completely mind blown and shift perspectives and be able to access just a wide opened perspective of the world and crack me out of whatever, I was in. Let me see myself from a different way and allow me to experience myself and my own consciousness in ways that I've never experienced it before. Feel states that I've never felt before, at least in this life. Show me what's possible, have me interact with God, the interaction space. Show me really who I am. Just open me up to this higher consciousness, that's waiting to come down onto this earth. That's why it's called vibration translation. I'm translating the vibration of what I've experienced, of the higher consciousness, and what other people have experienced on the regular 2 people or 3 people podcast shows. Spiritual awakening to me has been going through various points of receiving major insight and understanding via plant medicines over the last like 3 years. Like major, downloads from plant medicines, from interaction with them, but also off of plant medicines. And reflecting on them, playing with these revelations and insights in the physical realm, integrating them within my mind, within my body, within my action, and most importantly, my perception. This has been the journey of opening up my heart to the darkness within me, the darkness within people, the shadow work. It's been a journey of a lot of suffering that was unnecessary. I believed I needed to suffer. Perhaps I've taken this in because in the beginning of my journey, I got really into, yogic philosophies and meditations. And somewhere there along the line, from the spiritual community, from the YouTube videos I listened to, I picked up a message that not only the message of, no pain, no gain from like motivational videos, but also a message of like, you don't achieve anything if you don't suffer a lot, if you don't experience a lot of the suffering. Like suffering is something to be honorable and proud of. And so then I experienced so much suffering. And not to dwell on that, but I just come to learn from all of that. Every psychedelic trip I had has had major elements of a bad trip. Every single one of them. I don't remember one that was purely heaven, purely bliss and joy. There was at the least, a feeling of like ongoing discomfort somewhere within that experience. While I've had like beauty, absolute beauty and bliss, I've had incredible discomfort. I had a psychosis on acid. I had hell realm after hell realm. And I know I'm not the only one of these experiences. And through my experience of that suffering, I know it is not necessary. I'm reading this book right now called Self-Compassion by Christine Neff. God sent, okay? Synchronously got in touch with this book too. I heard some ladies months and months ago talking about it in a coffee shop, sitting right in front of me talking about it. And then months and months afterwards, I go to Barnes & Noble into the personal development section. And I saw this book, and I remember seeing the cover of it on Amazon before. And it was the last one left. And it has major keys for me, in terms of getting over the inner critic. But there's a saying in this book that says suffering equals pain plus resistance. Because, pain is a part of life, just as joy and happiness and elation and sadness and anger, these are all parts of the human emotions and the mind and life, But suffering is in our resistance to those parts of ourselves that are crying out. So instead of actually comforting them and being them with them, we resist them. We push them away, and so they don't heal. And so we suffer even more. Another part of my, spiritual awakening journey was really embracing being here on earth. So, I've been obsessed in my early teen years with lucid dreaming and astral projection. And that was more so to kind of like see if the other realms are real type of a deal, which psychedelics showed me that, the other realms are so real, which synchronicity throughout my life has shown me how to be dumb to not believe and to know that synchronicity is more than mere randomness and coincidence. Even Carl Jung says so, that it is beyond random, the probability of synchronicities, such that synchronicities happen and how they do, for it to be random and nothing, and for not there to be some kind of force behind it, essentially. It's been kind of this escapism into these other realms, this fascination with them, where I honestly rather be over there. And also identity has been a big thing for me in my personal journey, where again, I would read up on all these texts, yogic texts, and just be like, oh my gosh, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I just am, I'm the awareness, I'm just the awareness. I don't identify myself with being anything. So even words like starseed or light worker, I would just roll my eyes, which I kind of still do, because I just don't want to identify with anything. I don't want to identify with anything. I don't want to identify as human. As like anything. I didn't want to identify with any of my strengths or weaknesses. Like I didn't want to identify as a student, as a girl, as this. I don't want to identify as none of that. I just completely, within that, I disowned, within the immersion of the, I am consciousness and just the pure awareness form and meditation, I completely disowned my earthly nature that I decided to, come here to earth. I didn't, up until very recently, I didn't want to be on earth. I just wanted to go and fly off somewhere and really just be gone from here, honestly, just like live in a dream or something, just not be here. Because I felt like, oh, this is, kind of subscribing to the story of this isn't my home, this doesn't feel like my home, this feels foreign to me. Well, but I'm finally embracing, like, I am a human. I am within this animal vessel. Now, without taking these psychedelics, I'm still getting visionary experiences within my dreams. And also from time to time, I get these intuitive hits where the perception of my reality sort of morphs into a certain conceptualized idea that becomes super present. Like recently I was outside with my cats and I really felt embodied within, like, I am an animal. Like, I'm here with my cat, that's an animal. I am an animal. I'm on this earth. And like this visceral feeling of like, I am this animal right now. Which can be slightly comparable to when you're in psychedelics and like you feel like you are the floor right now, or you are the tree right now, or if you're ever had like shape-shifting moments in psychedelics, or like blending in moments into something, or like situational elements really presenting themselves within the psychedelic space. Well, I kind of had those kinds of hits sometimes, like within this reality here, these intuitive hits, these downloads or codes or whatever, people, whatever words people want to put to it, really, it's like the same thing. It's information. Ultimately, it's information. It's an understanding that you're gaining. And so essentially, the spiritual awakening has brought me to this point right now. And, looking back at my journey, it's just been everything that it's been everything that I've known being uncovered, and the realization of myself. I write about self-recognition, the importance of self-recognition. You're the only one that can really know yourself. It's you and God, baby. It's you and God. Your essence, which is the way in which you naturally are, the way in which where you have natural curiosities, where you have natural tendencies or natural mannerisms that are of you, the natural way that you speak, the kind of essence or maybe slightly like archetype that you embody. Now, archetypes can change like throughout the lifetime, wherever point you're in on the hero's journey, but I'm saying like whatever kind of like essence you have about yourself, like a character in a video game, like you pick a certain character because it has certain qualities to them. Whatever your tendencies are, whatever your natural inclinations are, natural curiosities, natural things that feel good to you, ways of expression and interacting with the world and noticing certain things about the world and certain things, you really see and observe and intuit, whether that be about people, plants, animals, birds, the environments, like in terms of interest, or just, the way that you are. It's hard to just describe an essence because you feel the essence. It's hard to describe it and just Nobody can take on your essence because it is your own essence that you get to feel and then emanate out into the world. It's a feeling thing. You get to, like, the feeling of you. What is the feeling of you? That is your essence. Spiritual awakening has been about realizing and implementing continuously, what it is to be a conscious creator consistently every single day, and also being compassionate to the setbacks, to the triggers, to the addictions, to the anything, that being compassionate to all of that, because wherever you are now, you have greater awareness than you ever had before, whether that is from repeated experience of a pattern, or from an expanded state, or from an intuition, or just literally just being right now in this moment. You're absolutely a new person. Bashar says you are a new person in every single moment, and this you has never existed before. Just think about that. Spiritual awakening to me is really about acting from really not acting, but like being from that state of who you are, and bringing that out into this materialized world through your actions, materializing the ideas that come to you, and learning how to be in flow of creation, which I'm learning how to be in flow of creation. This has been like a major kind of abstract way that I have been going about my understanding, which is my own curiosity in it, right? Spiritual awakening is about understanding, like, how are you connected with this universe? How are you connected to God? Where is your direct channel of communication with God? How does God connect to you, communicate with you? How do you communicate with it, The seat of power within yourself, like realizing it and embodying it every single moment. Spiritual awakening is not a one and done thing. It's a continuous awakening of the spiritual onto this earthly plane. Like, this is what we are here for, to awaken the spiritual onto the earthly plane. At least this is what I resonate with, But I believe there's this, like, many people are feeling this, where there's this whole right now, like 2024, as I'm speaking and onwards, this like collective and more awakening of consciousness here and there. More and more people are interested in holistic health, and plant medicines like ayahuasca are literally communicating to the shamans that it's time to come to the Western world more and more and spread. And unfortunately, it's become a business, like in a kind of greedy type of way. However, the message of the plants is still there. Although we totally need more integration. Realizing how, it doesn't matter if you're in and out of ceremony, it's really just this present moment, and how you show up and how much of yourself you really bring to this moment. Because life happens through you. Life happens as you say yes to your weird. Life happens as you say yes to all those parts of yourself. Life happens as you say yes to all of those parts of yourself that are alive inside you. You say yes to the being, to the vessel, to the animal vessel, to the animal that you are inside right now. You say yes. You say yes to being here. Life says yes to you. And there's ups and downs, and realizing that there's ups and downs, and learning, which allow you to learn things like compassion. This being alive on this earthly plane at this time right now. All right, I'll conclude this episode here. Thank you so much for listening to this mystical translation series. Hope to bring more. I'm having fun. This is exciting right now. I'm following my excitement, seeing where this flow takes me, seeing what else I want to share. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, it's available on YouTube or on streaming platforms like Spotify. Give the video a like if you liked it. Give it a comment. We'd love to interact with y'all, down in the comment interaction space. If you'd like to see any other of my offerings, they'll always be on vibrationtranslation.com. Pretty simple to find it. And, until next time, it's been a pleasure to be alive here.